obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This cold world, I show much concern for this generation and this way of thinking that we've all learned. We took a tragic turn, but the problem is that we ran right into it. The minds we influence, the lives we have drawn to the right and the wrong. We can never move forward till we understand where we've gone and move past from it. Yet we're still convinced that there's resolution. We can't make a change when the minds are polluted, living in illusion. There is no solution. Do we know the way? Do we know the way? Let's get away from this crazy place. The world is against us. That's put on display every day. That's put on display every day. Do we know the way? Yeah, let's get away from this crazy place. The world is against us. That's put on display every day. That's put on display every day. And sometimes hope is just a dream. Man, I really hope it's just a dream. They treat us like machines, systematic routine. While they destroy our self-esteem and we can't intervene. I'm tired of walking on eggshells, wondering when the death bell will register in my brain. I'm insane. I drink my thoughts away. And now I'm mentally sane. But still life is the same as the road we came. I'm back to reality. No one to blame but myself. It's a shame. I'll refrain from these thoughts in my mind. It's a game. Yeah. I'll refrain from these thoughts in my mind. It's a game. I have nothing to gain. But yet my soul remains.
And yet I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
Sometimes things happen that cannot be explained. Things that most people would feel better if these things did not exist. That is where we come in. From A to Z, we logically examine events of high strangeness. We are Forest Moon Paranormal. And this is S4.
Hey, good morning or evening, depending on where you are, and welcome to S4, the voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. Coming to you live from the FMP headquarters in the beautiful mountains of Concrete, Washington. FMP is a highly active emergency response team for all aspects of the paranormal, from aggressive hauntings to alien interactions, Bigfoot and other cryptids, and everything in between is terrifying. S4 is the voice where we discuss these things in depth. You can find S4 on the Fringe FM every Saturday at midnight, where you can also find Lighting the Void with Joe Roop, Shift Happens with Cortana, and Dark Waters. We are also on terrestrial radio with KSVU 90.1 FM, locally from 10 to 12 Saturdays with our pre-recorded shows for the locals. So I'd like to thank Hoodie Dat and Birdman Jr. for our intro music, and Seth Kinsey for our voiceover, and Stephen Gill of Twisted Images, Twisted Studios Department for creating our closing music. So folks, tonight is Roundtable. What is Roundtable, you ask? Well, it's where we all get together, have a good old time, drink our coffee, smoke our cigarettes, and ask questions that are blind. Nobody knows what they are. So how's everyone doing tonight?
Not bad at all. How about you?
I'm doing great. And there's a lot going on that, well, a lot to talk about. You know that? So tonight on our panel, we have Michael Hall from the UFOI team and the FMP paranormal lawyer. R. Keith Andrews, our FMP alien race specialist. And you know what? You can find R. Keith on YouTube. Go check him out on YouTube and get his books. We'll get to that here in a few minutes, because I want to hear Keith talk about his second book that came out. So, Cole Wakelightner is our FMP lore and culture research specialist and owner of Statement of Sound DJ Services. And we have Megan Gehring, our FMP security detail and Astral team and missing persons team member. So, there we go. And you know what? It's coming up on Halloween in, 11 days? Oh, wait. No. It's the 21st. 10 days. You guys ready for Halloween?
No.
Never.
We're working on that tomorrow.
Although I do have that problem solved and know exactly how to scare myself. I just got to look in the mirror.
No, actually, you're working on Christmas, aren't you, Michael?
Yeah, we're putting the old Christmas tree up tomorrow morning with the cousins coming over, and as I mentioned before, my 88-year-old mother loves to play an Alzheimer old lady who's forgotten which holiday it is. So we always have to put up the Christmas tree just before Halloween for all the trick-or-treaters.
That's got to throw them off, too.
And the funny thing is that all the kids in the neighborhood here, they all grew up with this weird tradition. So they're all looking forward to it,
Oh, wait, real quick. We got to give Paris a shout-out. It's Paris's birthday. Happy birthday, Paris.
Happy birthday, Paris.
Happy birthday.
So, as we always do with Roundtable, we all have 3 questions. Anything conspiracy, anything paranormal, anything supernatural. We even throw a political question in there every once in a while. So, who wants to go first?
Oh, let's start off on a really just twisted note. And some people will recognize this question, but what's in my pocket?
I'm not going to touch that one. A marble.
Yeah, no, I lost my marbles.
Okay.
No, that wasn't actually the serious question I was going to start with. It just popped into my head while we were talking about that. Something had to. But considering we're talking paranormal and what have you, figured I'd ask what people think the link is, or is there a link between magic and the imagination, or between the paranormal and the imagination, for that matter.
The pineal gland, isn't it?
From a clinical standpoint, the answer would be yes.
Good point.
The imagination. I don't know. You're keeping us in suspense now.
Actually, no, I was hoping that somebody could explain it. No. I didn't realize we were supposed to ask a question I knew the answer to. No, the thing that I found, especially when it comes to the higher senses, because I get asked a lot of times, how you start to do things like see the ghosts or start hearing start hearing from the people beyond. And what I came to understand is if you can just let your mind imagine what it can be like, then that opens the door to actually getting things moving. Humans seem to have this idea, and so do most other races, that seeing is believing. Okay. Whereas, truth be told, it turns out that believing is seeing. In other words, if you can't imagine it's possible, if you can't even conceive of the concept, there is no way on the planet you're going to be able to understand it. Hence why it has taken so long to make a lot of the advances that mankind has made, especially when we start looking at the paranormal fields.
So basically you're saying we don't have any imagination.
Well, I didn't say that.
No, that actually is really a striking question, because my grandmother is now going in through like dementia, and she has literally been calling me multiple times a week, telling me she's either seen something or somebody came in and talked to her. And I don't doubt this is happening, because she's always kind of had a knack for things, but now it's more prevalent, and you start to lose your mind with dementia, technically. I mean, the clinical diagnosis. And it opens that door to where you are imagining things.
And
So I think that rings really true. And with children, my biggest thing was I'm going to raise my child as very open-minded. And so I never corrected her when she had an imaginary friend. However, some of my girlfriends, we all had kids together. So my girlfriends would immediately correct, oh, stop it, you're seeing things. And it kind of stunted their imagination.
Yeah, absolutely it would.
now
And that
it lends to, and I got to figure out this echo here real quick. But it lends to the cases we deal with on a continual basis involving kids, and okay, I'm reading comments, so I got to figure out this microphone.
that's the instruction manual.
Yeah, it didn't come with one, and it's attached to a headset, so it doesn't work that great. But kids are always opened up, and you brought up the perfect point. Is dementia really the mind diminishing, or is it the mind opening up? I guess would be the point.
And that would be the $6 question. Inflation.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that I've been, I hate to use the term, well, no, I don't, but haunted all my life with, is because I actually, when I was seeing the shrink years ago, I asked him, how do you tell the difference between your imagination and reality? And as it turns out, what people were telling me when I was growing up was imagination, turns out to be reality.
Joe's bringing up a good point too. Maybe kids know people see things because they just got here, and they're almost ready to leave.
That's actually not a bad way of looking at it.
And it's the stupid people in the middle ground that are closed, blocked off, and can't do anything. Oh wow, zombies. Yeah. Anyway,
I know a lot of those. Many of them weren't. Never mind.
right. So that was your first question, Keith. What do you got, Megan?
Oh, actually, I'll flip-flop my questions, and because I actually have a question. Being it's October, there's a bunch of scary movie-thons on. We were watching the Elm Street series, and we just watched the third one, which discusses group psychosis, which group psychosis, it would be a shared psychotic disorder where a mentally stable or healthy person takes on delusions of someone who has a clinical diagnosis or disorder of some kind, like schizophrenia or paranoia. I am wondering if, say, a legitimate paranormal case comes in and it's, still kind of like, oh, well, we're dealing with a person with psychosis. Is it group psychosis at play? And also, if there is group psychosis, is it more apt to reoccur in paranormal cases?
That'd be a good Francie question.
Right.
So, with the paranormal, I really, let's take it a different direction for a second. We'll get back to that one, but you look at UFO sightings.
Exactly.
You can have 100 people, and Michael, you can back this one up, but you can have 100 people, and only 3 of them will see the UFO. And there's a reason for that one. I'll help me out with a word here. It's not screen masking, but
Well, screen memory, yeah,
Screen
right.
memory. There you go.
But that's true.
You can have 100 people. They're all watching a football game. Only 3 of them will actually see this really bright UFO because they're only supposed to see it. The off-worlders can actually switch off the other 97, so that only the 3 that they want to see it will see it.
And that points to the fact that these brain studies that they are doing on experiencers seem to have some kind of connection with the extraterrestrial races that are either abducting them or dealing with them in some respects, because the typical example again would be like everybody is stopped at a major intersection or even on a highway, going down I-5, with 3 lanes going one way and 3 lanes going the other way, and there's only 1 or 2 people that see this major event right above their heads. And for some reason it looks to me that there is a recognition of brainwaves, and they can get the attention of the people they want to, and they can shut off the others that they don't want to see them. So that's a fascinating subject right there. Why experiencers have this unique brainwave that they're studying right now. This was Grant Cameron's revelation to me the last month when we were up in Canada together. He was mentioning that there is a group of government ex-CIA insiders who are convinced that the only way they're really going to find out what's going on with UFOs and even some of these paranormal activity issues is to study the people that are experiencing them. And one of the ways is to study their brain patterns.
Of course. Yeah, we won't even discuss the CIA. I hate the CIA. And, yeah. Anyway.
But they're fun talking.
Oh, God, no. You know what? Taking Homeland Security was probably the worst thing I could have done, because it really exposes what the CIA has done and documented in the last 30, 40 years. And, yeah, makes me hate them even more. And one reason they're not a part of Homeland Security. But we'll get there. We'll get to that. That's actually part of one of my questions. Okay, so group hysteria with the paranormal, I think, is rare. Based on cases we've done, if you have a whole apartment, having a whole apartment building experiencing the exact same thing doesn't happen very often.
Okay, but also families, if you just narrow it down to a family, like the husband believes he's being abducted.
I would say 8 out of 10 cases. Most of the time, one of the partners has seen something. The other partner, whether it's husband or wife, has not, and thinks they're crazy.
Okay.
And of course, kids, I would say, are probably get the worst end of the deal, because they're usually the ones that do corroborate what the parent is saying. So yeah, now when you're talking an apartment building, we have had one case where there's a whole apartment building.
Okay.
And maybe 3 rooms out of the entire apartment building were having activity, and the other ones weren't. So, again, I would say an actual group situation is rare.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Anyone else want to interject?
Well, the one thing I have found where it comes to, the group, if you want to call it psychosis, my dad actually used to explain it as mental cohesion.
Okay.
Meaning, when one person sees the event, they turn around, and because it is so real to them, they broadcast that event and people close by can pick it up.
Yes.
You know, and of course, the stronger the mind, the further the distance that particular image can be broadcast.
Okay.
Okay, is this mic any better?
We can hear you better, or at least I can hear you better.
All right.
I don't know if that helps.
So I've been told pretty much that microphone sucked, and so I'm going back to my laptop microphone, and we'll have to figure out a different microphone to get, because this one's just too quiet. So Michael, do you have a question for us?
Yeah, I got an interesting question. I don't know if we want to jump into this right now, but I thought I would ask. We're all talking about, disclosure and when it's going to come and what the heck it's going to look like. Disclosure of UFOs, of the mystery of cryptids, ghosts, all the things that we are fond of thinking about this time of year. But I often wonder, given the fact that it was even less than a year ago when we actually find out that the government is we can hear you, by the way, Eric. So so you know.
See, I told you the mic was working better.
Yeah, it works really good. But the idea being is that it hasn't been that long ago before the government actually admitted the existence of the idea of UFOs. So I'm thinking the question I would like to ask would be, as soon as Eric gets done here, I'll pose my question. He doesn't have his headset on, so he doesn't know that he's being broadcast right now.
The nice part here. The nice part here is we don't have radio silence today.
Yeah, that's for sure. No, but here's my question. What does a post-UFO disclosure society look like to you?
Oh, boy.
Let's just assume that the thing is actually done at one point when they come out and say, guess what? There are aliens visiting the planet. They have for a long time. Whatever is going to be disclosed is going to be disclosed. And Richard Dolan wrote an interesting book about this whole idea that the day after disclosure, or AD after disclosure. And I always try to think in the back of my mind as a reverie, what the heck would it do to our daily lives, our spiritual lives? What would technology look like if indeed they're going to disclose certain things?
Well,
all that stuff.
Well, before I can even start to postulate a perception on that one, I have one itty-bitty question. How long after disclosure are we talking about?
There you go. Good question.
Yeah.
Well, let's figure it out. Let's say that, it's been almost a year right now since the New York Times came out with their article confirming UFOs. Let's say, a year later. Let's say a year after disclosure. What would that look like?
I would say because of what our political platforms have looked like over the last couple of years and what they have done to our media in general, we would still have a lot of disbelief. The word fake news is thrown around so much that we can't hardly believe anything that anyone says on any news radio program or news program at all.
I think I've got, to add to that, Michael, the Citizens UFO Disclosure Program, the videos.
Yeah, Stephen Bassett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How come that didn't improve disclosure? That happened in 2015 is when I think they started that.
Yeah,
but you didn't see any.
Oh, yeah. All the heavyweights were there. Stanton Friedman, Linda Moulton Howe, Peter Davenport, Richard Dolan. Everyone was there, and it was pretty well covered. But you know what? It was only covered in the well, let's put it this way: not the mainstream media. They didn't put this on 11 o'clock news or primetime news on CNN. So that's probably why it didn't have any legs at all. But I'm still wondering. You're right. I think the real issue is how drastically would a disclosure of anything like that change our daily lives? I think that's when it would really hit the rubber would hit the road. I would assume that if anybody asks you, if you ask them right now, how has that New York Times article confirming the existence of UFOs changed your daily life? Most people would say, well, it hasn't one bit, changed my life. So it would have to be something that would be quite earth-shattering, to maybe make a difference in people's daily lives. It would be, for instance, let's just say that there was this unlimited 0-point energy that was totally available immediately, and then all of a sudden people didn't have to do what they normally did every day to go to work, that kind of stuff. That would be a huge factor in what post-disclosure would look like.
Well, yeah, I look at it this way. We basically had it, like you said, about a year ago. And I don't know about you guys, but I haven't exactly seen a remarkable shift in anything.
No,
Yep.
not at all.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm curious, because they predicted 2018 to be the year of disclosure, but other than December's article, I haven't seen a whole lot.
No. And, even amongst the standard conversations that people have, you're still people are still talking about which sports team is winning and, what the cost of gas is.
That's right.
Yeah.
People are really into routine as well. They just want to have a routine that they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and to honestly make it believable or believed, it would have to be monumental to the point where the president or the president of the UN got up and was standing side by side with an off-world being.
Well, I don't know. I'm still a firm believer that if, even one city around, one of the major cities, if a UFO mothership were to drop out of the atmosphere and just, sit there for a bit, I'm pretty certain that would get people's attention.
If we had full, okay, so after full disclosure and say there's a craft hovering over Mexico City and we aired it on every hand, that would get the attention. I think so many people would still just be in a state of disbelief and not accept it as truth.
And Tim brings up the false flag. How will it be handled? Fear.
Yeah, false flag.
But there's been disclosure. Look at the gun, the plane gun footage. Look at, if Markham was here, you can go right back to 1952, 1951 with the UFO flap over the White House with radar trace. And they've got craft. There was disclosure back in the 1940s and 50s, but it's not recognized today.
Well, even if we take a look at the monuments and the laws that are being passed recently, like the monuments that governments are putting up regarding UFO events, right? You take a look at them, and people on the whole, everybody was talking about when is the government going to come out and tell everybody that it's happening. they're putting monuments up. They're passing laws regarding UFOs. You know, the government's come out and there's been a newspaper article on a major newspaper, and people are still saying, when is disclosure going to happen? I don't think people are going to recognize when it finally happens. They're just one day going to look back and go, when did all these green and purple people and the lizards show up at the top?
Agreed. I mean, the New York Times article was a step. I agree, Michael. That was probably about as close as we're going to get, besides Trump's Space Force.
Yeah. Although, what Grant Cameron was mentioning is that the Tom DeLonge To the Stars Academy guys in either January or February are going to release more videos of UFOs, from what I gather, because, the camera footage from the FA-18s was the original. Of course, most people don't realize that when they release those gun camera footage, those things were all the way back from 2014, 2012. They had been around a long time, but no one had ever seen them. So I am anticipating that in January, potentially, or February, there will be some new gun camera footage, or maybe something that would be more impressive, because I remember when most people saw that footage, they were just going, it was hard to understand. It really wasn't that impressive. So I'd like to really see some impressive footage that would go quite a ways to convince people that this is a whole new paradigm shift happening.
Well, that's just it. And much as I agree with you, a paradigm shift of that magnitude isn't going to be an overnight thing.
Right. That's kind of why I was mentioning that if we looked out a year post disclosure, having the time for people to chew it over and to, give the pros and cons, and have the government bring it, pull it back like they normally do. They throw stuff out there, then pull it back, and have plausible deniability. All that stuff would have had to take place probably within the year after, over a post, disclosure kind of a thing, and then it would kind of settle down. I'm just wondering what it would look like for all of us, at that point, which could potentially be not that far away for us.
Well, I think.
Go ahead.
I think for a lot of people, it's going to be nothing will change, for the reason that you look at people now. Before I got in with you guys and became part of your group, I knew nothing about the paranormal at all, including aliens. I had questions, but I didn't know anything. But the problem is, every time I saw something on Facebook, on the news, on anywhere about anything to do with them, I would watch it for about 2 minutes, think, not real, and walk away. For an entire year, that's going to happen. It's going to be, disclosure will take from the day they introduce us to an alien on, without actually everyone in the world being introduced to one, I'd think 10 years. Honestly, at least 10 years.
At least before it even starts to shift. I mean,
yeah.
The ironic part, bringing it down to, it's sad to say, but down to earth, right? We go back 30 years. Now, we're not that far. Like, I'm up here in Kelowna, BC, and we're only 400 miles from Vancouver, where there's a staggering number of different nationalities of people. In Kelowna 30 years ago, if you saw three non-Caucasians in the city, you were doing good. Now, it's as mixed as it is in any of the major cities. Right? And the aliens, especially with what Hollywood has done, and with the way cosplay comes out, and the Comic-Cons and what have you, people on the whole, for I have no doubt it'll be longer than a decade, but people will chalk it up to somebody's gone to a lot of work to put makeup together.
Right. And unless you're in a team like FMP, where we deal with aliens and UFO sightings on a nonstop basis, yeah, you're going to be blind.
But it is a good question. There's no doubt there. Something to think about. I like the way that Gene Roddenberry actually laid it out. Because ultimately, that's along the lines of what you'll be looking at.
I also say watch the movies coming out. I mean,
Yep.
we got Project Blue Book coming up in December on I believe Netflix. That looks phenomenal.
I got a new one on that I have to watch. It's called UFO. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know what it is, but it's supposedly about a moment of disclosure in the early 80s, I believe.
Oh, interesting.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, I just found this. Huh. No, I honestly can't say where I got it, Eric.
Yeah, have to check it out. You have to check it out. So, my question tonight is, well, it's hard to explain. So, in the 90s, I'll do a backstory here on this question. Because in the, 91, 92, I was in Stuttgart, Germany. And the Cranberries, who remembers the Cranberries when they came out with Zombie?
I remember.
Oh, yeah.
I remember.
Of course.
Great, we're all old.
So I remember being a private walking around Stuttgart, and Bosnia was really kicking off, but it wasn't really in the news. It was kind of in the news, but it wasn't anything. We weren't looking at going there and being involved or nothing. And Dolores came out with Zombie, and that was actually based on the IRA and bombings in Ireland. But it could be seen, in any conflict, because any conflict has, major travesties with kids. And so they came out with Zombie, I guess, in 93, and I'd already been to Kuwait, and I'd already been to Somalia. And, 2 weeks ago, I'd never even heard of the Bad Wolves. The Bad Wolves came out with a remake. And I guess what's bad about it is Dolores was actually supposed to get with the Bad Wolves the day they were going to release her song. And she passed on 15 January, the day they were supposed to be, getting with her. And actually, she was going to sing on the song with them. She loved the remake. And if you've heard the remake, it really hits you because they actually changed the words a little bit to include drones, to include today's technology, and what I'm trying to think how to word this, but the wording in the remake includes 2018, and basically what they're saying is, we haven't changed. Violence hasn't changed. You got to hear the song to fully understand it. And I know Megan does, because Megan, I shared it with Megan and Dan the day I heard it. Why can't humanity progress? Now maybe you can explain this, Keith. I have no idea. And I don't want to hear violence is part of human nature. Well, it is, but humans are supposed to progress. Why aren't we? I hear. I hear that's
I would say that we haven't progressed. Well, you know what? No, I would have to say we have progressed in ways. Obviously, the way we the way we create, how do I say that? The way we make war has changed.
Right.
In a way that we've started to value human life more, in a sense that when you think of wars in the 1600s, you went out onto a battlefield and you kind of went into it thinking, well, I'm going to lose half my men, at least, even if I win. In a sense now, when we go into war, some of us, I will not say both sides of every war, but some of us go in with the idea that we need to give our men and women as much protection as we can in order to bring them back alive. And I would say my prime example would be Megan, isn't the Marines rule you never leave a man behind?
Yes.
In that sense, that wasn't true in the 1600s. Friend, if he got his arm chopped off, leave him. Get yourself out of there. You know what I mean? Like, we have progressed in that way, that human life is more valuable to us because we know there's more beyond just blindly following a king or queen who is only trying to take over land.
I'm going to take this a step further, too, though, because like I said earlier in the show, you know, that taking Homeland Security has really opened my eyes to the violence that certain aspects of this government is behind, and specifically the CIA. With who's heard of Extraordinary Rendition?
No.
So Extraordinary Rendition is like Abu Dhabi. It's like Guantanamo Bay. Basically, the U.S. government, for example, will have the Jordanians go to Syria to kidnap someone that they think is a terrorist to take to Egypt to torture. That is extraordinary rendition. It happens all the time. The CIA has also been behind targeted killings, which to me is the same as assassination. Taking out somebody that they think, you know, might be a problem. It basically takes the Constitution out of the picture, takes due process out of the picture. And this is what we've become. It's modern. And it doesn't show me any kind of humanity progression. Especially when you have a government that's backing this kind of process.
Well,
Exactly.
sadly, this is the same pattern that Rome followed. Quite literally, you know, aside from the toys are more advanced in today's world, but this is the same pattern that faced ancient Rome right before its collapse.
Well, that's going to suck.
I was just thinking the same thing. No joy. So, yeah. And you know, you look at, you take the violent nature and you look at our own country today and how divided it is.
Yep.
I mean, look at, just drive down Cole. Just drive down Highway 20 and see how many road rage incidents you encounter.
See, now that's the thing.
Well, that got a little personal. For all of our listeners, I was in an accident on Highway 20 earlier in the year.
Yeah, no, I wasn't even thinking of that.
The road rage didn't happen till after we stopped. I will say that.
Right.
And it was mostly me yelling at the guy that hit me.
Oops.
You know, Izzy was driving home, 2 nights ago, and actually had a large 4x4, you know the type, the one with 50-inch rims and jacked up about 20 feet in the air and think they're all big and bad. And he actually flashed his brights up behind her and passed her and then slammed on his brakes. And she's going 55, 60 like we always do. It's like, seriously? I mean, and this is a non-stop thing. So you can just you can just take the very simple road rage incidents and expound it.
See, now what I can't figure out where it comes to road rage itself is why, when road rage is identified, and I know this is going to raise flack, so I'll apologize for that ahead of time, but why, once it is identified that road rage is what caused the accident, why are these people left with an actual driver's license? Never mind having it suspended. Pull the thing. Because, I mean, you want a dangerous weapon, take a one-ton battering ram and put it in the hands of somebody that goes off the deep end.
Mm-hmm. Because the problem is 90% of the people that drive have had one road rage incident where nothing might have come of it, but they thought about it. And the issue with that is, you look at our lawmakers, they consider themselves to be very busy people, and probably most of them have had a road rage incident involving themselves. And they're not the victim in that. And once they identify that, they're not going to pass a law to, like, take away the license to someone who does that.
Well, this is why we have, this is why society's going the way it is. And of course, unfortunately, and don't get me wrong, I'm not just blaming the drivers by any stretch. There's a lot more to it. But I mean, it is heavily interlocked.
And, Joe's bringing up the point, too. Watch an episode of Cops, half the people they pull over don't have driver's licenses. It's just like half the people here. I won't say half. But insurance, driver's licenses, put them in jail. Teach them a lesson. And, getting on that side of it, if you've seen Fahrenheit 9/11, where Michael Moore actually went and interviewed congressmen coming out of out of the Congress building, and asked them how many of them had kids of military age, and how many of them have would you send your kids to war? No, they wouldn't.
No.
I guarantee you, if half the politicians with military age kids were required to send them in the military, we wouldn't be in wars like we are today.
Oh, Lord, no.
No.
But I have an issue with sending kids to war in the first place. Like, honestly, 18-year-olds, I have an issue with that a little bit. And it's not really a big issue, but the fact that an 18-year-old person is old enough to go to another country to kill, but isn't old enough to walk into a bar and have a drink.
Yeah, there's a problem there.
I completely agree.
That bothers me a lot, honestly.
Me too. Because
and I know it shouldn't. It's kind of a petty thing. But at the same time, it's not. Because, you know what? When our guys went over for World War I and World War II, all of them had a flask, and it's called liquid courage for a little bit of a reason.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why they only had a Mickey instead of a 40-pounder.
Yeah, most of them should have had a 40-pounder, because what they had to witness was a lot worse than a Mickey could handle.
In fairness, most of them should have had a blindfold.
Yeah.
But no, I completely agree with you, Cole. If they have the audacity to be able to go to combat, they should be able to have a drink. I completely agree. And that's not petty at all.
Absolutely. And you know what? If they just made it from military personnel, I'd probably be happy.
Well, I know
18-year-olds. If you're not old enough to go to war, like if you're not mentally able to go into the military service, yeah, you're probably not mentally ready to have a drink either. Or I can agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you sign up for that service, you should be able to walk into any bar.
Agreed, and have the first drink free. When we went to Iraq, my second tour in Iraq, we actually had a soldier that was 17. They wouldn't take her because she wasn't 18 yet. As soon as she turned 18, she was on a bird flying to Iraq, and she wanted nothing more. She was mad they were keeping her back, but she was only 17, and they wouldn't deploy. They wouldn't deploy her. But that's the kind of people that join the military. The ones that don't join.
The ones that don't want to sit on the sidelines.
Exactly. It's just like when I went to Somalia and Kuwait the first time. I actually had to raise my right hand and sign a piece of paper because my commanders weren't going to take me to deploy because I'm a sole survivor or an only child. But I don't get this country sometimes. I really don't.
Well, that's just it. I mean, yeah, unfortunately or fortunately, I'm not sure which, but that kind of thinking quite literally applies in a lot of different countries. But I mean, really, when you start looking at it, you have to realize, that when you start looking at the whole idea of conflict, and you bring that back around, we have all these wars going on. Most of them are based on really stupid maneuvers. But when we bring it back around to the issue of the off-worlders, can you picture what's going to happen if you bring the off-worlders in with their technology, and then somebody decides to start an ill-advised war? Everybody worries about the military, which is a good thing. But when you start having civilians with blasters that can punch a hole in a building, and I mean a sidearm that can do it, it changes the whole concept of war.
And then there's then there's the EMP blast.
Well, one shot and the planet's dead in the water.
Mm-hmm.
From their ships. This is the thing that we have to look at where it comes to society and the after effect of disclosure, right? Is you start, once you've got the off-worlders and their technology set up, it would not take any length of time to end conflicts that you didn't want to happen. Especially if they end up having some sort of say in how to go about it.
The biggest part.
Go ahead.
The biggest part that scares me with an EMP blast is we have stopped teaching our kids how to handle life without technology.
Yeah.
And you know what? This came up in a discussion group from my hometown. It was the fact that schools are taking shop class out of their curriculum. The thing with that is you're not just learning how to fix a car. You're learning the basic life skills to build something.
Yep.
Well, yeah, FFA, Yeah.
FFA, all of that is disappearing and being replaced with the arts. The arts are important. I agree.
Even home economics. Home economics they used to teach in school. They don't teach anymore. And that's how to balance your checkbook, how to cook, how to clean, your basic common life skills. And then they wonder why.
Well, but that's the thing. They've added basic life schools. There is a basic life schools in some, or a skills class in some schools now, but it's not how to balance a checkbook. It's not how to actually cook. It's how to boil water. It's how to make toast, because our kids today don't have those skills. It's that bad.
Unfortunately, you're very right. This is why when the TV came out, they called it the idiot box. I mean, you think about it. You go back to Einstein, And he made a brilliant comment, and he said, when technology advances to a certain level, we will be raising a generation of idiots. Welcome to that certain level.
And I feel sorry for my kids.
Yeah.
Teach them
So do I.
We teach them the best we can.
Well, you do. You teach your kids the best you can. You teach the kids they're dealing with the best you can. But what people have to realize, at least it might be an idea, is that raising kids is not just a parental thing. It's a societal thing.
And I agree. It takes a community. And Joe's in the chat room. He's taught his nieces and nephews how to create a pointy stick. And that's outstanding.
You went full caveman. You never go full caveman.
But here's the thing. You take the jet, the jet engines and what have you, and the big planes and what have you. One seagull can down a plane.
Oh, yeah.
One metal bar can drop a motorcycle in a heartbeat. You just have to get creative.
A pointy stick is the first step to civilization. And that's what's going to happen when we find Rome.
It's sad to say.
Oh.
And people were warned then. They didn't listen then any better than they are now.
No, and they won't.
And that brings out about the whole quote, those who don't pay attention to history are doomed to repeat it.
Yeah, but here's the kicker to that one. The flip side of that is those that focus too much on history have exactly the same problem. If you concentrate,
I can see that.
If you concentrate on the negative side of what went down, you'll create the negative side. Not picking on any. Well, I am going to pick on one specific sport. I'm not a sports enthusiast by any means. Okay, but I saw an MMA fight about a year and a half ago that went from one-on-one to gang warfare. Well, that was the exact same maneuver they pulled back in Rome in the gladiatorial pits. The next logical step is for them to start bringing weapons in.
Right.
Well, we know where that led.
All right. Well, guys, it's time for a break. And when we come back, we'll continue our questions. So stay tuned for hour 2 of S4.
This is Joe Root from Lighting the Void, and you're listening to KTLK Digital Broadcasting Station, The Fringe FM.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. There's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Select Joe Roop at checkout at ancientlifeoil.com.
This is Rev Dan Lopez from Spiritual Warrior Today Radio, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Who were the real ancient Egyptians? What is it about ancient Egypt that captivates us all? The critically acclaimed series Magical Egypt is back with all new episodes. Let Chance Gardner and company take you on another adventure through Magical Egypt in the new series Magical Egypt 2. Magical Egypt 2 attempts a forensic reconstruction of the science of the ancients through a study of ancient aesthetics. Also, the best researchers and authors in the field like John Anthony West, Graham Hancock, Laird Scranton, Robert Bouval, Lon Maladuquette, Aaron Cheek, and more join together to explore the topics of the esoteric and the hidden messages of the ancient Egyptians. Just go to magicalegypt.com right now and put in the code word FRINGE and get 10% off any download or order, including the groundbreaking original Magical Egypt series as well as the new episodes in Magical Egypt 2. Also, check out the great work and the companion series at magicalegypt.com. Click the banner on the Fringe FM or go to magicalegypt.com and use the code word FRINGE and get 10% off your order today while it lasts.
You asked for it. We listened. Changes are coming to the Fringe FM. Hear the Paranormal Code with Rich Giordano live Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, starting July 9th.
July 9th, we're going to be going 4 nights a week on the Fringe FM.
Followed by Lighting the Void with me, Joe Roop, live at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Then, stay up with us in the early morning hours for some of the best paranormal and alternative programming around. The truth is out there, and so are we. The Fringe FM.
Ew, yuck. They're unhealthy. Bugs. I hate bugs. Our home is clean, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. From contact, it kills bugs. Plus, Orange Guard kills hidden bugs and keeps new bugs away for weeks. The ingredients in Orange Guard are on the FDA generally regarded as safe list, so Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com and Ace Hardware.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Preston Dennett from PrestonDennett.weebly.com, and you're listening to KTLK.
Get ready.
FM.
All right, guys, we're back. So welcome back to S4 tonight on the Roundtable. I hope you're all enjoying tonight's topics. You can also find the archives at Spreaker site and on the S4 YouTube channel for all the shows you missed in the last 2 years. Anyway, back to the show. How's everyone doing?
Just great things. How's yourself?
Absolutely wonderful.
Good.
All right, so who wants to pick up question number 2? Eeny, meeny, miny, and Cole.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
Cool.
So my first question
Yeah.
has to do with the astral realm.
All right.
I was wondering if the astral realm has any negative effects on the people going into it who are going in there on purpose.
Any negative effects?
Like we have an astral, we have an astral team, but from what I've heard, they can spend a lot of time in there, quite a bit of time. Does it have any negative effects on their psyche or their body?
Yeah.
So, yes. One, it can drain your energy if you're in there too long too long at one point in time. 2, it can have an addictive effect. If you have more fun in the astral, for example, than you do in real life, then you could be addicted to going into the astral all the time. 3, yes, you can be physically harmed in the astral. You can actually get scratched and physically harmed in your astral body, but at the same time, it'll affect your physical body. And yes, you can die.
Yeah, but that's
okay. When you say drain, drain your energy, what does that mean?
Tired all the time, depressed. It can cause depression. So as far as your psyche goes, yes, it can affect your psyche.
And the other addictive side is if you're one of the, what I call one of the lucky ones, and you don't have a bad run when you get over there, it is a riot to spend time over there. It's an absolute blast. Unfortunately, it does have the drawback of being more exciting or more enjoyable, especially if you like time on your own.
Right.
Because the limits are quite literally only in what you can imagine.
Now, Megan,
Yes.
You're our new Astro member. What's your experience been like so far?
Actually, it's been really, really powerful, and I am one of the people that like to astral, and I find it relaxing most of the time. But today we had a heck of a case, and I'm not going to go into details because it's still ongoing, but there was multiple people, multiple buildings, multiple entities, and it was just this crazy, ruckus when we first got in there as a team. And we had multiple astral people, and we were all assigned a duty. And I used so much of my energy. And by the time we were concluded, I felt like I needed to take a nap. And I'm battling a cold. I just got over like this 12-day cold, so that didn't help because it was like all the symptoms hit me again. And my back, like my muscles, almost went into a seizure because in astral there was some combat, there was a lot of shielding, and it was a lot of energy, and plus I was trying to protect my teammates and kind of run Overwatch, and like I saw something that they didn't see, so it was one of those things where it was fully engaged, and it really did drain me. I'm but I'm also really good about self-healing. Go and do something I really enjoy once I'm out of the astral realm, and focus a lot of time on grounding and shielding myself. And so I spent about an hour after the astral experience working on myself. But if I kind of got lax in that department, I know I probably would not be on chat right now, because I'd just be sick and lethargic and headache type thing, because I've made the mistake of going into astral before and then not medicating or self-correcting and focusing on myself. And therefore I've learned that is an important step. But as far as like the depression, I have not experienced that. Some of the cases are heavy, but I don't know. I'm going to chalk it up to the Marine Corps at this point. I'm really good at compartmentalization. So I could put things into a box and just put it aside or accept it. I don't have to actually deal with what I saw or what I felt or what I experienced in astral. I just can accept it, learn from it, and move along. So hopefully that's clear. Hopefully that's clear, but I am one of the few that just, I really enjoy time in astral.
And we, in answer to that too, Cole, to add to it, we do have protocols in place. Like Megan said, we do ground, we do shielding, we do, if it's an intense case where we don't know what we're getting into, we'll send in scouts, essentially. They'll be cloaked, and they'll be able to see what's going on before they engage. As far as the depression side is rare. It's really an individual issue. So we do watch the team for depression. We do watch the team for draining and other signs. But yes, you can be psych harmed. You can be physically harmed in astral. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm. The physical harm, I'm more thinking. So being there longer than being here. Does your body get hungry? Does it get thirsty? Can you?
Oh, yeah, like you're talking.
You know what? My biggest question: what happens if you have to go to the bathroom when you're in the astral field? Sorry, but.
Well, that was an entertaining problem. I've actually seen it happen where the necessity of the physical body sensations will actually yank you out of the astral plane.
Yeah. And bear in mind, when the team is on a case, the team is generally speaking not in the astral more than, say, 1 or 2 hours at a time.
Yeah.
I think we had one case where the team may have been out for 24 to 48 hours, but not at any one given time. So, and like he said, the physical needs of the body are going to take over the astral, and you're going to be pulled back in.
This is why it's recommended, if you're going into the astral plane, to leave your body someplace safe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like I found out the hard way. By the way, safe does not mean in ICU. They get really testy there.
No.
Oh, geez.
Maybe on the toilet, though.
Well,
just a thought.
Sad to say you do that, you're likely to end up with a mess on the floor.
Yeah. Well, Cole, I astraled for about 2 hours on the case today, and I put everything aside. I never once broke astral to get up and get a drink of water or eat a cough drop or, use the restroom. I put all that aside, but trust me, once I was out of astral, I was like, okay, I can do human things, and I went about my business. And, I just kind of put it aside, and it really didn't even interfere because I was so focused on what was, in front of me, which would be, the case at hand.
See, that's why even when you're doing any of the energy work, and astral travel is just another form of energy work. But this is why I always recommend to people, have water handy for when you're done, because you're going to require it.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Rehydrate. And for an example, if Izzy goes astral, it's only an emergency. She gets called in for dire emergencies, basically. And if she has to go astral, she goes in our room, closes the door. I watch kids, and she's astral as long as she needs to be in a dark, completely quiet room.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. There should be no outside if there's outside influence, you're not fully going to be astral safely anyway.
Yeah, there's very few people that can actually go astral and be present in the physical world.
It takes talent. We have one person that can.
Is it necessary to use some kind of headphones or binaural beats or anything like that? Do you just do it through your own mind?
You do it through your own. Well, it's your consciousness leaving. The ones
Yeah.
that do it through their own mind, that's usually remote viewing. But no, you don't need headphones. You don't need. I guess it's an individual thing. If someone needs headphones to concentrate, to leave, then that's how they would do it. But it's not necessary.
Yeah, it's usually what I refer to as a crutch. If you can't concentrate or if you can't relax enough without earplugs, put the earplugs in. It's kind of like it's easier to do astral if you start off in a sensory deprivation chamber than it is if you start off in the middle of a mall. Although it causes much more interesting reaction in the middle of the mall.
So you mentioned that we have one person who can do both, be in both realms. So if she's listening to like Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, can she broadcast that to everyone else?
Now you're talking. Now you're getting.
You gotta remember, I don't know anything about this, and therefore, so these are the questions that pop into my head.
We have one person that can actually astral while they're driving. Not recommended.
No.
But
you have to.
Yeah, I can see that being bad.
Yeah. Technically,
like I said, not recommended. But if you have that kind of skill, then you can do it.
I'm just thinking of the creative cop that would be giving that ticket.
Right?
Oh, by the way, you were out of your body. I just saw you were hovering over your vehicle, so I'm going to give you a ticket.
That wouldn't stand up in court.
No,
probably not.
Neither would the cop.
Yeah.
Oh. Any more questions, Cole?
I do, but they're on different topics. If you wanted to go to someone else first.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, we
no, I
always
was
change
talking about
topics
the astral.
anyway.
Let's talk about the astral side. Okay, Keith, what's your next question?
Curiosity, in your guys' opinion, what is black magic?
Okay, so my opinion, magic is magic. There's no white, there's no black. It's all about your intention. Now, if your intention is to curse somebody, for example, your intention is to cause harm on somebody, that's what they would call black magic. Now, what society calls black magic would be somebody that's conjuring, somebody that's bringing in the devil, someone bringing in demons. It's all intention.
Well, you and I are on the same page.
Yeah.
But if someone knows what they're doing and they want to conjure, so be it. I have no problem with that. It's what you're going to do with the individual you're conjuring that I'd have an issue with.
Well, yeah, I mean, I find it really enjoyable, sitting down and talking to some of the people that have passed away. And I mean, let's face it, whether you're talking about a human ghost or whether you're talking about an entity or a demon that's passed away or an angel, it doesn't really matter. They all follow the same pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And of course, once you open the door towards past lives, right, if you're conjuring somebody up, it works out kind of along the same lines as phoning an old friend. Right.
I agree with that. I also think it comes down to respect.
Absolutely.
For example, I'm not going to say his name, but there was an individual that went to Vegas immediately after the Vegas shooting because he wanted to, speak to the passed over individuals that got shot. I think that's disrespectful. They're not ready to communicate. Especially disrespectful to the families of the ones they lost. It comes down to respect.
Most of them are probably confused.
Oh, yeah.
Well, either confused or the few of them are going to be madder than a wet hen. And if you're annoying them right after that, well, think, if we bring it back into the military concept, think of what happens when a group of soldiers comes back from a hot zone and somebody starts bothering them about what went on.
Yeah.
This is usually a bad outcome.
Same thing with, half of them don't even know that they've passed on. They're confused.
Dead or alive, there's questions you just shouldn't ask, too.
Well,
right.
That's where I run into a problem. I never actually found a question you shouldn't ask. But first and foremost, I absolutely agree with you on this one, Eric. It is an issue of respect as to both when you ask and how.
I don't know if there's even a set time. Some spirits, some families aren't ready for an answer after a year. I would say before you try contacting someone that's passed on, it should be a mutual agreement with the family as well as the spirit.
Oh, absolutely. But that's part of the when. I don't mean give them 6 months, everything will be fine.
Right.
That's like people going through the death in the family, through, you know, even a divorce, a traumatic family experience, you know, losing a pet. There is no way to say, oh, in 6 weeks you'll be okay and you should be able to just get on with your life.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree.
Well, I don't know about everybody. I'm just looking at the chat room here on what you just put in there, Eric.
Yeah, either everyone's asleep or just listening.
Sandra's still here.
Or maybe they're just plotting. You know, Halloween coming up.
What's everyone else's concept of black magic?
Well, I'm pretty aligned with what you had said, and I don't consider black magic, you know, societally aligned with The Conjuring. I think that it is more with ill intention.
I think
that's my take on it.
Well, I think too, you know, society's not ready for magic in general, because you bring up pagan, you bring up magic, you bring up anything that isn't mainstream, they automatically jump on black magic. Oh, are you a black witch? Are you a white witch? No, I'm just a witch.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's sad. You know, I was on another show and I got asked about demons. Well, I really offended a lot of people because I said, you know what? There's good demons, there's bad demons. Oh, no. Oh. All demons are bad. They're all evil. No, actually, they're not.
Some are a hoot. But I will tell you, they hold a lot better parties than most Terran bankers.
Yeah, can't say I agree, but I would say, you know, there's demons are demons. Not all demons. Demons are either hate humans, which most demons do, or they just don't care. I mean, humans are arrogant in that they think they're the center of the universe, and they're really not.
Yeah. Well, I had to tell somebody that one day. They were worried that they were being watched by the government. And my immediate comment to them was, well, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is, and he says, I don't know which is which. Because on the one hand, yes, you're being watched by the government. On the other hand, you're not that important.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the same thing applies to the demons. Some, like, I do agree with you, the majority of them have learned, for whatever reason, to dislike just about every race other than humans, or including humans, rather. You know, but they're not, as a race, they are not inherently only one perspective. It's kind of like the off-world perspective that all humans are alike.
Right. You know, many demon races actually hate off-worlders.
Absolutely.
It's a mutual hate, I guess, as off-worlders hate demons too. But look at it as demons are just another race. Some of them, yes, they cause harm on humans. But so do other malevolent entities. So do spirits. So do fae. There's a whole array of creatures out there that cause harm, not just demons.
Well, that's just it. They're all dang near identical from the standpoint of no race on its own is 100% inherently one way or the other. Because we got to remember, every one of the races, including the non-corporeals, have a soul. They have an individual perspective.
Completely.
That's where it gets real confusing.
Completely agree.
One thing I would like to say is I do agree that intentions are a big part of it. But at the same time, I'd have to say even the best of intentions can go wrong.
Well, you know what
and
they
if
say
you're
about
delving into
broken,
something if you're delving into something that you can't control and you can't handle, especially something that's pretty dark but you're trying in a way to do good, that would still be considered to me a type of black magic, because you're reaching into things you can't handle and releasing things maybe that you can't handle.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes. The only reason I don't see that as black magic is because if I look at that as black magic, then we have to take a look at the entire scientific community and look at that as being a black science. Because the scientific community is looking into things that they really don't understand when they start poking buttons.
Look at CERN.
Yeah, but I'd agree with that. I would totally and fully agree that half of it, honestly, maybe we shouldn't be looking into.
CERN and HARP. For two of them.
We're not ready for it.
Yeah.
Well, I love the way it was put in Jurassic Park when they said that humans are so, well, they actually said scientists, but scientists are so interested in what they can do, they seldom think about whether they should.
Exactly. And that could be the same thing with magic.
Agreed.
Well,
let's jump on to the next question. Megan, you got another question for us?
Oh, yeah. No, it's just a light, fun question, kind of following up on what Arkeith just kind of hit on. So, October. It's October. A lot of people are going on ghost hunts or, just fun, like, little haunted walks. I'm wondering, and this almost sounds like a crime, so forgive me, but clearing in public. So what are your guys' opinions on, say, I'm on a little haunted ghost walk through the old town city of Concrete, Washington, and I'm seeing an apparition on the bridge, and she seems like she wants to cross over. So do I cross her over, or do I leave her for public display? I'm just kind of curious on this.
Oh, you hit a hot button.
I know, right?
I not knowing much about this, I would have to say, talk to her, offer your respect, cross her over if that's what she truly wants, because the public novelty will not leave with her.
And see, that's the hot button area. I don't like those walks.
No.
I don't like ghost tours because one, it's disrespectful. Two, it can be dangerous because how many of those ghost tours are actually teaching paranormal protection to the public that they're taking on the ghost tour?
Zero.
This is where I have a slightly backwards viewpoint on that. See, number one, I'm all for ghost tours. It's just hard to get them all to line up and follow where you want them to go. But the other problem, and this is where I'm really backwards on it, you take a bunch of people out on a tour when you don't teach them, well, that falls into Darwin's methods. Because anybody going on the tour, it would be advisable if you're looking into going on a tour, check into protection yourself first.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing, though, Keith. How many of these, and most of these people that go on a ghost tour, got the idea from paranormal TV? And how many paranormal TV shows do you know even express that there's a danger with the paranormal?
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and that's where we get back to that other thing we were talking about a while ago about the responsibility of the media and these ghost tour shows. It's like, sad to say, but if you bring it into the material world, it's like the people that make war sound like such a wonderfully exciting, enjoyable, and adventurous thing. Come join the adventure. I don't know about you, but having somebody pull a gun on me and shoot at me is not what I call an adventure.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. But in answer to your question, Megan, yes, if you're on a ghost tour and you see a spirit and she wants to pass, you cross her over.
So clearing in public is okay.
Of course. Especially if they want to go.
They get to see another, the public that's on said tour gets to see another aspect of the whole paranormal phenomenon, the whole ghost phenomenon.
Oh, see, that would be neat.
No,
but I mean, also, I mean, I've been to some public places where I'm kind of getting a feeling, and it's like looking over my shoulder, and I'm like, somebody wants to talk to me, and you know, I don't know where that line is yet to whether I should engage and clear, or do I need to seek permission from the building owner? Or...
Nope.
Okay.
Because if you have to ask permission of the building owner, they call that slavery, and they call that enslavement.
I was just about to say, yeah, you know what? You're gonna really tick off some people, but cross them over, because
I would say be careful though with crossing them over in public, because like when you're doing it as a public display, that kind of is show, like, you'd want to ask the spirit's permission to do it in public.
Well, yeah,
that would be a big thing.
Most spirits aren't going to care. They want to go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
but you know what I mean. Like, then
talk to sometimes they don't care.
No, but you know what I mean. Like, then it becomes like you're making them one last time into a spectacle that they've been the entire time they've been there.
See, the other side of that, and this is where I do recommend you watch what you're doing. If you're going to cross them over, or if you're going to have a conversation with them, because of the way society is geared, and the fact that ghosts happen to be telepathic for the most part, it's best not to speak out loud to them if you can't physically see them. Although, I'm game.
Right. I'm guilty of that. I talk to myself all the time, and actually one of our astral team members sent me this little thing. I homeschool, right? And she sent me this little meme, and it said, if you're a person who homeschools but you talk to yourself, is it really a parent-teacher conference? I loved it. I loved it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not crazy. It is a parent-teacher conference. I mean, come on. So yeah, that's the category I fall into. I'm guilty of that.
If you start to answer yourself, then you're getting a little out there, though.
If you're just answering, it's when you get into a full-blown three-way argument that you're in trouble.
Yeah. That would be hard to explain.
Oh, that's when you tell the fourth person just to mind their own business. It's not their argument.
I might be able to pull that off.
All right, is Michael back with us?
No.
I don't think Michael's back with us. Okay.
I didn't know that.
Cool. What's your third question?
Yes, sir. Okay, I'm gonna, my sister-in-law asked me something today.
Okay.
She had watched a documentary on Dogman.
Ooh.
And she was wondering why there are so many similarities between Dogman and the lore of werewolves, yet Dogman does not have to follow the forces of the moon the way we perceive werewolves do.
Two different races.
Yeah. Dogman's a different
Why
species.
do werewolves have those rules, yet Dogman doesn't, when there's so many similarities to them completely?
Ultimately, it boils down to this. Werewolves as a race have to follow certain things because that's what their what their physiological demands are. Okay, dogmen don't have the same physiological demands.
Doesn't it also come down to culture?
Quite often, yes. Now that being said, culture won't do a thing for the phase of the moon.
No,
but behavior will.
That's why I meant, because of the behavior when that moon is full would have to do with cultural. What's the word?
In all fairness, it doesn't.
No?
The werewolves, no, because the werewolves are physiologically affected by the moon.
Okay.
Dogmen are, once in a while, psychologically affected. Just like some humans are affected by the phase of the moon, but not all of them. Whereas all humans are affected by whether or not they've got oxygen.
Right.
I got to ask there, what do you mean by some humans are affected by the phase of the moon?
Well, it's a proven fact that because of the fact that the human body is, I think, if I remember the numbers correctly, it's about 86% water.
Yes.
Okay. If you're born under a full moon or a new moon, if you're born under an opposite moon, the proximity of the moon will actually affect the way that the biochemical, the biomagnetic flux occurs within your brain. Okay. Some people are affected by it. Same as some people are affected by the cold or the heat. That increase in energy can alter the way that the person, can alter the level of their control. Net result, if you've got somebody that is trying to stay even-keeled, but have a temper problem, you bring the moon into it, that shift in gravitational pull will physiologically modify a human's temper control. Same thing happens with werewolves. With your lycanthropes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
I want to backtrack real quick because Kayla's got a really good comment pertaining to Megan's question. But couldn't that cause, passing spirits over in public? Couldn't that cause other people on the tour to think that they could pass spirits over and cause them to dive into things they couldn't yet handle? And
Ooh, good.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. It's really passing over a spirit isn't something everyone can see anyway. You kind of have to already have that ability to see what's going on.
Question: is it something that can be learned?
It is.
Yes.
Anyone can learn it. Anyone can learn it. Anyone's got that ability. But that's a good point. If somebody else actually saw what was going on and understood what was going on, you wouldn't just want anyone to try it without having some instruction.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with that. You don't want now. Can it cause some people to jump in where they really shouldn't? Absolutely. Is it a high probability that it will do it? The answer is no.
All right. So Michael.
That was an excellent.
Oh, is Michael back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Woohoo!
So Michael, what's your second question?
Well, given the season that is upon us here and Halloween showing up very shortly, I thought of an extension of the first question that I was asking. What would post UFO disclosure look like? But on a same vein, what happens if all of a sudden some scientific organization or even the government comes out and says, you know what? Ghosts are real. Spirits are all around us as we, our maybe deceased ancestors can be contacted. What if the paranormal was put into the mainstream tomorrow? That would be a fascinating thing to think about.
Well, I guess
Ghostbusters Incorporated is born.
You know what? I think our workload just tripled. If that was the case.
I'm thinking so. I'm thinking, most of us have been, dealing with these kinds of subjects for a long period of time and kind of swimming upstream. What if all of a sudden we find ourselves just flying downstream with the mainstream approach to now the paranormal is a reality and everyone needs to deal with it. And all of a sudden, people are calling you up right and left, Coop, and Forest Moon Paranormal. And, Megan is 24 hours a day on a list, to help people out all over the world.
Sorry, Megan.
It would be interesting.
Semper Fi.
I will say on that one, so groups like FMP, the scrutiny level would have to go way up. Because if that was announced to the mainstream public that was 100% real, do you know how many calls we would get of someone's door slamming shut because the wind pushed it, but they think it's a ghost? 90% of your calls then would be false calls.
And
completely.
They would be, but we have ways of figuring out the mundane. It would be frustrating on the sense that we'd have to go be a lot more scrutiny would be higher.
Oh, for sure.
But on that note, though, it might bring membership up. We have a bigger team to handle the bigger workload because more people would,
Well, there'd be an awful lot of people being let out of the nut house that have been told, well, you're absolutely bonkers.
Right.
And all of a sudden you'd be testing these people going, okay, well, apparently you weren't. We're sorry about the inconvenience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can imagine that a whole lot of folks would feel kind of vindicated, through all of these years of being ridiculed, belittled. All of a sudden, people with intuitive abilities, clairvoyant and clair-seeing kind of abilities would probably be much more highly regarded.
Well, and here's the other problem, and this is where, Michael, you get put to work in one heck of a hurry. All those people that have been wrongfully imprisoned are all of a sudden wanting compensation.
Yeah, exactly. And how about, Keith, what about that guy who I think I recently reported on? He was an inmate and actually brought a class action attempting to put all of his fellow inmates together in suing the devil for making them do what they did, and their bad deeds. So, all of a sudden, potential lawsuit against the devil might be something to think about,
Charles Manson died. They can't blame him anymore.
Well, here's the thing. Right. Here's what few people realize about the devil. You can go ahead and sue him. But unfortunately, the devil works under absolute ironclad contract. And the reality is, if you've signed that contract, whether you really read the fine print or not, you're going to lose that legal battle. So, Mike, don't get involved in that defense structure.
No.
I think you're right.
I will say on this question, my sons recently found out what I do, that I'm part of FMP. And I told them we are a paranormal emergency response team. And my 10-year-old looked at me, cocked his head to the side, and said, "Dad, are you a Ghostbuster?"
Oh, God.
And I said, you know what? I wanted to immediately just say no and quash that whole thing. But then I thought about, no. but I'm the receptionist.
You went there.
Because in a sense, yes, that's what you guys do.
That's
in the movie sense, they put them in containment units, but you guys cross them over, and you do help people. That's what the Ghostbusters did.
Yeah,
and you're absolutely right.
So, when it comes down to what we do and how it will affect it, if that ever became the full disclosure, that view would still be popular.
Does that mean we need to go out and buy a
That's
hearse?
what huh?
well, that would be entertaining. I like the idea, but you've got to get the accelerator cannons as well.
No, we're not going to buy a hearse. We're going to buy a Humvee because we're more military.
No, don't buy a Humvee.
We need to go places. Yeah. Yeah.
Buy an
I
actual.
will say, I was a little upset when Izzy said in training that we don't get proton packs.
No.
Wow.
That's just not fair.
Oh, we still here? And it looks like, okay, in 15 minutes before the show's about to end and Skype goes out completely. So I'm going to get everybody called back in here. Gotta love technology, folks. Technology really sucks sometimes. All right, are we back?
Of this world would just be overwhelmed with, people going, well, I guess I'm not crazy, but what do I do, with all of these images and spirits and things that I am seeing. So that would be interesting medical study, if disclosure of ghosts and spirits were released as well.
See,
I think, again, that would take time.
Well, that's where
I think at first most people would just stop paying and say, well, I wasn't crazy anyway, so we're good.
Oh, so that was interesting, guys. You guys didn't get dropped. I did.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, that had to happen at some point.
Yeah, I'm not on my cell phone. My cell phone drops, not my Skype. But I want to bring up the point. So, society recognizes the paranormal. What happens to religion?
It's part of religion is a necessary commodity. The reality is that religion explains the inexplicable long enough for science to figure it out. Now, granted, there are those that will tell you religion is used to control people, but that wasn't what it was designed for. That's what it was, if you will, corrupted into.
Right. But now the government came out and said, wow, spirits are real. Bigfoot's real. Dogman's real. Everything in the paranormal is real.
Yeah.
And the Catholics are going to go, and don't get offended, Cole, the Catholics are going to go, see, we told you everything's a demon. We told you.
Yes, but they're also going to have the other flip on that.
Well, no. There's one area that spirits can be explained from, and that's the thing. A lot of the things would be real. They could call the spirit realm limbo.
They'd also
jump. To me, that's not true.
Right.
But I will say that some religions are going to have to backtrack quite a bit.
Yes.
I agree.
Not overly. Because you got to remember, along with the demons and the devils being real, etc., the religious people will immediately jump on the idea that God is real.
Oh, absolutely.
And as for limbo not being not being quite the reality, this is one where I actually have a sort of probably a biased opinion. I've been there often enough. It's about as real as it gets. Because there is a transitional point between going where you think you're supposed to be going and where you start.
And I believe that, but I do not believe that spirits that are stuck here on Earth that haven't been crossed over yet are all in limbo.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The ones here are not in limbo. If they're stuck
But that
here,
would be the Catholic's explanation for the spirits that are stuck here.
oh, they're wrong.
Very much so. Very much so. And actually, we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss that on the show next week.
What about
Did we see Kayla's comment?
Huh?
Did you see Kayla's comment?
I did. Skype goes out when the photon.
Never cross the streams.
I know it.
But didn't they cross
That's
the
what
streams
happens.
to-
Skype goes out. Oh.
See, you cross the streams, you have a reenactment of the Big Bang Theory.
Apparently. That's what CERN's doing. CERN's playing with Skype.
Well, somebody is.
So, hey, Keith, we're down to about the last 8 minutes of the show. Tell us about your new book.
Well, it's not quite out. It'll be out sometime in the next 2 weeks here. But it's called, what is that wonderful beep you've got in the background? That's actually not the name of the book.
Oh.
Sorry. It's actually called, it's the second in a series of 12. And this one's called Believe in Your Business and Follow Your Dreams. And what I've done my best to do is put the 12 steps necessary to get your business up and running right from conception all the way through to expansion, to get it when I covered such neat little things like the one critical thing that people overlook is if you want a business to run properly, you've got to have a policy book in place, something to remind yourself and your employees or managers how situations get dealt with and why. And so I walk through everything from how to figure out what business you want to look into, whether or not you even are of the right mindset, in your opinion, to become an entrepreneur, how to get the business set up to start with, including your startup costs and how you want to go about finding a location. So I go through it one step at a time. But again, I've kept it as simple as I can get it, because it really is an issue of running a business. There are some simple tricks to it, but you're going to have to do the legwork. You're going to have to talk to people to make it happen.
And where can you find the book?
Well, you can order it right through me at Inner Voice Enterprises at yahoo.ca. And the bottom line question is, we're still looking at it being, as far as I know, and this might change, but we're looking at keeping it at the $10 mark plus shipping. Well, in Canada, that'll put it around the $2 mark, and in $2 shipping, States, $3. And that we blame the post office for.
Right.
Will it be available through Amazon at all?
I'm looking into Amazon, or more to the point, my publicist is looking into Amazon to see if we can get it through there. Because, again, we want to make sure we keep the price down at a functional level. We are going to be looking, this one will be out in hard copy, and then we'll look into getting it into soft copy, and if I can find somebody that can read better than I can,
then we'll get it into the auditory books.
Excellent.
You know,
Excellent. So, Michael, where can we find UFOI Team and your show?
Oh, yeah. Well, every Monday night, Pacific Standard Time from 6 to 8 p.m. on Facebook, you'll find the UFOI Team broadcasting live from Denny's, where America eats.
that's sad.
That's awesome.
The cool thing, when I heard that Hal Puthoff and Kit Green and a bunch of those guys met at Denny's back in the 70s to begin their whole idea of the SRI program and the remote viewing, thing through the Army, I said, well, can't be. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us,
Excellent. Excellent. So, wow, time has flown, as it always does. I want to thank our crew tonight, Michael Hall from UFOI Team and our paranormal lawyer, R. Keith Andrews, our FMP alien race specialist. And make sure you check out his 2 new books he's written and watch his YouTube channel. Cole Wigleitner, FMP culture and lore research specialist and owner of Statement of Sound DJ Services. And Megan Gehring, our FMP security team and astral team on the Missing Persons Division. So tonight, our music came from Hoodie Dat and Birdman Jr. for our intro. Seth Kinsey was our voiceover. And Stephen Gill of Twisted Images, Twisted Studios Department, is our closing music. So as always, you can catch S4 on the Fringe FM every Saturday night at midnight Pacific Standard Time and KSVU 90.1 FM Saturday 10 to 12. Next week is going to be a little bit different. So next week we'll be discussing various types of hauntings. What causes a haunting? And how can you protect yourself from these things? So we did a poll on the FMP, and I'm paying attention to some of your answers and what you want to hear, things of that nature. And I also had a discussion with Joe Roop of The Fringe a few months back. And so what listeners want to hear is how to keep the paranormal, how to stay safe from the paranormal. So we're going to kind of start focusing some of our discussions on that and respond to you. So thank you again for listening to S4. Keep your eyes to the skies, and remember, it's you that gives us a reason to produce S4. So have a great week, S4ians.